Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Ask Jungle Scout. I hope you enjoyed the first episode. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you do that. If you want your question to be answered on the show, make sure you put it in the comments below this video for a chance for it to be picked out for another episode. Alright, so question 1 is from Vadimas. How about customs duty? If sending goods from China to the US, when and how should you pay duties tax? Thanks for the question, Vadimas. So what I've seen is that sellers will tell their supplier that we need a freight forwarder that will handle customs duties. So basically they will pick, and a lot of them like FedEx and DHL, etc., they generally all handle customs duties. So if your supplier is handling your shipment for you, they will basically tell you when there's duties tax to be owed, or they might ask for you to pay a certain amount up front. They might say, okay, based on your shipment value, it could be about $200, so please pay that in advance so that your shipment isn't held up, and then whatever the balance is, we will pay you back. So if you've got a good relationship with your supplier, then that option should be fine. You might be asked to pay a certain amount up front, but then your supplier will let you know how much it actually was, and then they'll reimburse you with the rest, or they'll credit you for the next time there's customs duties to be paid. The other route to go is if you organize a freight forwarder yourself. There are lots out there. Shapiro, I know, is quite a popular one. I don't know from personal experience, but I believe it's a very straightforward process. They look after that all for you. So if you choose a US freight forwarder, and so basically what they do is they pick up your shipment from China and they're responsible for it all the way over to the US, and they will walk you through the whole process of paying customs duties. Whichever option you choose, the most important thing is that you make your supplier or your forwarder aware that you need someone, or you need the customs duties to be paid. You just need to ask the question and let them know it needs to be paid, and they'll tell you whether that particular freight forwarder is able to handle that for you. Other sellers I've spoken to have said that basically they will get a call from, let's say, FedEx or DHL saying that they're holding their stock and they won't release it until the customs duty is paid, and then they've just been able to pay it over the phone or online, and as soon as they do that, then the items are then released. Question 2 is from Greg. How do you bundle products using overseas suppliers? Okay, firstly, why would you want to bundle your items? One of the big reasons people bundle different items together is to make their offering unique to what everyone else is selling, and also to make it harder for other people to come in and copy their product. So while it might seem a bit more difficult, it's actually not too different to just getting one item. Essentially, you can ask the one supplier if they stock the other item that you're after and get them bundled together, or in some cases you might need to find 2 different suppliers. In that case, you would then pick the supplier that you want to be the main sort of supplier that will ship your product to the US. I would ask that supplier, are you happy, are you willing to accept this product and put it in a package with your product? And quite often they'll be happy to do that. And so then with the second supplier, all you do is you just place an order with them as per usual, but you get them to ship it to the other factory. The good thing about this is that shipping from one factory in China to another factory is usually fairly cheap, so the shipping there will be quite minimal. And then, as I said, you get factory A to package the 2 products together and then send them off together as one unit to the US. Question 3 is from Asad. Is it a must to get a trademark now for our product? Basically, the answer is no. The purpose of a trademark is to further protect your brand or your products from other people copying them. When you're just starting out your business, you haven't launched any products, there really isn't any reason for anyone to want to take your name or to really infringe upon that. And to get a trademark is quite an expensive thing to do. So generally speaking, a lot of sellers will start up their business without a trademark, and then that's something that they'll look at once their business has been well established. The point at which you want to look at getting a trademark is really up to you, and is dependent on how far along you are in your business and when you would like to make that leap. If you've got the ability to get a trademark for your brand, it certainly is a good idea and does give you a certain level of protection. However, it's not necessary at all to have for your business. Question 4 is from Jordan. Any general tips for Aussie sellers starting up? This is a great question that doesn't just apply to Australia, but also sellers from all over the world that are outside of the US. As a seller in Australia, the biggest challenge that I came across was keeping my money in US dollars, because Amazon pays you in US dollars, and then generally your suppliers in China will accept US dollars only. And Amazon only pays you out in the currency of your own country. So if I was getting paid from Amazon, they would send it in Australian dollars, or it would be converted to Australian dollars. You can open up things like foreign currency accounts. So I could have a business account here in Australia that is in US dollars. However, Amazon would still send it in Australian dollars because that's the country it's going to. Now the problem with that is that if they send it in Australian dollars, if they send me $1,000 US, that gets converted to Australian. Then if I use that to pay a supplier in China, in that conversion rate, in me converting it back to US dollars, I'll probably lose some money. So long term for your business, you don't want to be losing money in the exchange. So how do you go about keeping it in US dollars? Well, when I first started, I found a great service called Payoneer. They give you a credit card and they accept Amazon payments in US dollars. You can then make payments with this US credit card. However, when paying suppliers, I couldn't use a credit card. So in that instance, I was able to use PayPal with that credit card linked to it. Now the downside of this is that you get charged approximately a 4% fee on every transaction going through. The other thing as well is that not all suppliers will accept PayPal. They often will for smaller, samples or smaller orders, but when you're looking at larger orders, they generally won't accept PayPal. A great service that I've now found, which is great for Australian sellers, but I'm sure for lots of other foreign sellers as well, is called World First. So I believe they're somehow connected to Citibank, but they've got the ability to set you up with a US bank account. So you can get paid into that account with US dollars, and then you can make payments to suppliers from there in US dollars. The other really big challenge I found as a foreign seller was figuring out the US tax system and the legal requirements. Now I want to start this out by saying that I'm not a legal advisor, I can't give you business advice, this is just what I've found in my own experience. So firstly, as a foreign seller, do you need to pay tax in the US? Without going into it too much, if you're doing FBA in the US, yes, you do need to pay sales tax in those states. Any states where your inventory is being held. So it's not just the address or the state that you're sending your inventory to, because Amazon will often distribute your inventory to many different warehouses so that it can access their customers quicker. So you might have to pay in a number of states. Now, how do you find out which states you need to pay sales tax in? Well, I've found that TaxJar is very good for that. So basically, TaxJar will tell you all the different states that you're selling in. Now, how do you go about registering in all those states? Basically, you need an accountant in the US. I actually found that on Seller Central, they list a number of accountants that help people with Amazon businesses. Contact all of them. I believe most of them should be able to help foreign entities, foreign sellers, to register for sales tax in the relevant states in the US. Then of course that same accountant can help you figure out any other relevant forms or help you to do an actual tax return in the US. Okay, so there's a second part to Jordan's question. Also, how to save money shipping wise if products are sent to Australia before it goes to FBA. Mate, I haven't found a way. Most Australian sellers that I've spoken to just send direct from China to the US. It's just too expensive to send it to Australia first and then to send to the US. It does make it harder. You do have the option of getting different services in China to inspect your product before it leaves there, so that it gives you some peace of mind about that product. The best thing to do is to get some samples sent out to you. Unfortunately, then you do need to kind of hope that the quality of your big shipment matches the quality of the samples. Perhaps you could get a couple of samples from each shipment that gets sent to the US to give you some further peace of mind. As a long-term business play, you want to build a good relationship with your supplier So the more you can do that, you can get to a point where you can trust them that they are indeed sending the best quality. I don't know if any other Aussie sellers or foreign sellers have any other experiences or found a cheaper way to send to Australia and then on to the US. If you have, make sure you put it in the comments below to help us other Aussie sellers and any other foreign sellers. So those are all the questions for this week. I wanted to try and keep it a little bit shorter, but again, if you want your question to be answered on the show, make sure you put it in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up if you've liked today's episode, and we'll see you next week.